This is Air Quality by physics major Herder Yulpin, me, and bio major Jose Alcantara. This is for the course CSM 15 Evidence-Based Decision Making for the semester of spring 2021 under Professor Sakoti. What is air quality and why did we choose it? Air quality is the degree to which the ambient air is pollution-free, assessed by measuring by a number of indicators of pollution. AQI stands for Air Quality Index, a measurement that runs from 0 to 500, which will be put into percents into figures made for this project. For air quality that is hazardous, ranging from AQI range of 201 to 500, which was found in the dictionary. Pollution, a substance that has hazardous or poisonous effects on the environment. Asthma, a condition in which the airways narrow, swell, causing irreversible obstruction, which is found in the dictionary. The reason for studying this matter of air quality is because of the theory that poor air quality has a negative effect on people with asthma, such as me. So I found that researching air quality and the connection to asthma as a personal research opportunity. Throughout this research, the following question will be followed. Is air pollution connected to the increasing rate of ailments or asthma throughout the state of California, looking across various counties? Various counties will be explored throughout the state of California. To name a few, LA County, Fresno County, Sacramento County, and Kings County. All 56 counties were observed in the research experiment. Average percent of hospitalization and healthy AQI level related to its regional location. So the red is measured, or the measurement for hospitalization, while the yellow is the measurement for unhealthy AQI or for air quality. So the first two bars you have are the Northern California counties. Second couple is the Central California counties, and the third Central California counties, with Northern California counties having the lowest effects and Southern California having the highest effects. So in that previous figure, average percent of hospitalization and unhealthy AQI levels related to its regional location. It shows the percent of days with unhealthy AQI levels within a year that increased, the percent of hospitalization within the year that also increased. The more southern the county, the more likely it contains a high amount of asthma related hospitalization and days with unhealthy AQI. The figure represents the increasing problem of unhealthy AQI going southwards. Looking at the north and central regions, they seem to be more normal rates than compared to the southern region. Southern California has the most concerning rates of air quality, with hospitalizations of asthma even higher. Unhealthy AQI percent reached a limit of 17%, which is a concerning rate. 6% of the population of Southern California was hospitalized with asthma. In order to create this figure that you saw, we found 56 counties throughout the northern, central, and southern counties. 20 counties were put into the northern category, 26 counties put into the central category, and 10 counties into the southern category. For each of the three categories, population, AQI, were brought into the calculations. AQI levels were divided by the number of days per year for each category. And this was the website used to find these calculations. Northern California. This is the figure that we created in order to represent Northern California and its hospitalization rate compared to its unhealthy air pollution rate. So its highest hospitalization rate is at about 0.7%, while its highest unhealthy AQI level is about 16%. And both of those are from Placer. Average percent of hospitalization and healthy AQI levels, Northern California. The figure of Northern California shows as the percent days of unhealthy AQI levels within a year increases, the percent of hospitalization within the year increases. Air quality and hospitalizations seem to be proportional to one another in the northern regions. The counties are properly organized, going from north to south. Hospitalizations in Northern California reached a maximum of 0.7%, with a total being about 5.34%. AQI reached about 12% bad air quality. And this is the used reference that we use in order to find these calculations. For average percent of hospitalization and unhealthy AQI levels in Northern California, it is the northern region from average percent of hospitalization and unhealthy AQI levels related to its regional location isolated. For each of the three categories, population, AQI levels were brought into the calculations. AQI levels were divided by the numbers of days per year for each category. The trend line R squared for hospitalization is at 0.772%, meaning there is 0.772% connection from plotted point to point for hospitalization. The trend line R squared for unhealthy AQI level is at 0.139%, meaning there is 0.139% connected to the plotted point to another plotted point. Central California, hospitalization is the red dots again. Unhealthy AQI levels, yellow dots again. So the trend line for percent hospitalization R squared is 0.717%, and the unhealthy AQI is 0.54%. Sacramento has the highest percent of hospitalization rates at about 6%, while Salamano has the highest AQI, unhealthy AQI level percent. Average percent of hospitalization and unhealthy AQI levels of Central California. The figure average percent of hospitalization on unhealthy AQI levels of Central California shows as the percent of days of unhealthy AQI levels within a year increases, the percent of hospitalization within a year increases. Air quality and hospitalizations are proportional to one another, as seen in the graph. When air quality rises, so does hospitalizations, same for the inverse. The counties are properly organized from going north to south. Hospitalizations in Central California reached a maximum of 6%, with a total of about 12%. AQI reached about 40% bad air quality. For average percent of hospitalization and unhealthy AQI levels of Central California, it is the central region from average percent of hospitalization and unhealthy AQI levels related to its regional location, just isolated again. For each of the three categories, population and AQI were brought into the calculations. The trend line R squared for hospitalization is at 0.717% again, which means that there is a connection of that percent from plotted point to plotted point. And then trend line R squared for unhealthy AQI is at 0.054%, meaning there is that percent of connection from plotted point to plotted point. Southern California, hospitalization percent. The highest percent is Los Angeles, being about 30%. Highest unhealthy AQI level is about 45%. And that seems to go to San Bernardino. Average percent of hospitalization and unhealthy AQI levels in Southern California. This figure shows as the percent of days with unhealthy AQI levels within a year increases, the hospitalization within a year increases. The two seem to be proportional, and as you go closer to the LA region, the worse the air quality seems to get. The counties are properly organized from north to south. Hospitalizations in Southern California reached a maximum of 30%, with a total of about 60%. AQI reached about 45% bad air quality. And this is our reference. For average percent of of hospitalization and unhealthy AQI levels of Southern California is the southern region from average percent of hospitalizations and unhealthy AQI levels related to its regional location, isolated for the third time. The trend line R squared for hospitalization is at 0.535%, meaning that there is this percent, again, plotted from point to point, which is lower than the other two. The trend line R squared for unhealthy AQI level is at 0.145%, meaning there's like a 0.145% connection from plot point to plot point for unhealthy AQI level, which is the highest percent for this section. The other two were lower. Asthma hospitalizations per county of California. This is the figure made that represents the reported asthma hospitalizations along according to each county. So Modoc County had the highest percent of asthma hospitalizations, with Del Norte having the lowest. See, the figure asthma hospitalizations per county describes the amount of asthma attacks that have been recorded by each county. Santa Clarita has the highest amount of recorded data of 8,544 from Los Angeles, with a minimum of 0, which is tied between the two counties, the Sierra and Alpine counties. Modoc County is the county with the most attention in this graph. Modoc County ended up with an overall percent of about 0.13% of population reporting an asthma case where a patient needed to be hospitalized. Del Norte County had the lowest percent of needed hospitalizations, with about 0.03%. So in order to create this figure representation, what was done was that I took the number of hospitalizations per county of California from each county that were found. Each county's population of California was taken. Using these two numbers, asthma hospitalizations were divided by population size. As a result, a maximum, minimum, and average were taken. Obviously, the maximum was 0.13% by Modoc. Minimum was 0.03% of Del Norte. An average came out to be about 0.06%. Overall percentages of air quality to asthma hospitalization ratios. So Modoc County had the highest percent in this figure from our air quality to asthma percent ratio. So I had about 16%, which was the highest percent here. And Del Norte again had the lowest percent. You'll see why this and the other graph look so similar soon. The figure air quality asthma hospitalizations ratio percentages represents the correlation to poor air quality to asthma hospitalizations. For example, Modoc had the worst percent of hospitalizations in the figure shown in asthma attacks per county. When compared to its combined percentages of soot and smog in the air, it ended up being again the worst county in California. Modoc County again has has eyes on it, with a ratio of asthma hospitalizations being about 17% ratio. Del Norte County has again the lowest percent ratio. Los Angeles has the 6th highest percent, which is just for reference, since Los Angeles is usually the stronghold for pollution. Air quality asthma hospitalizations ratio percentages was made using data from asthma hospitalizations per county. The smog and soot grades were put into percentages by subtracting the number of counties, 56, by the number of good or poor grades of smog and soot. This was then divided by a number of the good grades. This came out to a percent of 56% for soot and 64.29% for smog. Seeing this as an average percent across California, this was used with coordination to asthma hospitalizations per county's data. The data was multiplied with the previous data. Then the data for smog and soot was added together, rendering the following information, with Modoc getting 16.18%, Del Norte getting 3.01%, and the average being about 6.75%. Unhealthy AQI levels within the year related to the percent of hospitalizations. Here, you can see that the percent population is experienced a asthma hospitalization by state population. So Los Angeles has the worst rate of hospitalization at about 50%, where Sierra seems to have near the lowest, and San Bernardino had the highest unhealthy day percent at about 26%. Los Angeles had about 20% unhealthy rate. Sierra had the lowest data with about 0% for hospitalizations. And then for unhealthy days, the lowest percent is Solano. Unhealthy AKI levels within a year related to the percentage of asthma hospitalization. The figure unhealthy AQI levels within a year related to percent of asthma hospitalization represents the increase of days a county experiences within a year relates to the increasing amount of asthma hospitalization. Counties experiencing the lowest amount of unhealthy AQI levels under 100 experience the least amount of asthma hospitalization. Los Angeles has a high hospitalization rate of nearly 50%. Unhealthy AQI levels within a year related to percent of asthma hospitalization. The figure unhealthy AQI levels within a year related to percent of asthma hospitalization represents the increase of days a county experiences within a year relates to the increasing amount of asthma hospitalization. Counties experiencing the lowest amount of unhealthy AQI levels under 100 experience the least amount of asthma hospitalizations. Los Angeles has the high hospitalization rate of nearly 50%, where its population needs to be hospitalized compared to the state population of about 20% AQI level. Alpine has the lowest rates, reaching about 1% AQI level, and about 2% of its population need to be hospitalized with asthma problems. So to create this figure, it was made using unhealthy AQI and a number of days in a year for half a figure, and total number of hospitalizations in 2015, and dividing each county's number of hospitalizations by the total 163,273. Each county has its own AQI level measured each day of the year. The AQI level is therefore divided by the number of days in a year. Los Angeles has the third highest unhealthy AQI level at about 29.59%, with the highest percent of hospitalizations at 28.57%. San Bernardino has the highest percent of unhealthy AQI level at about 42.19%, with a lower hospitalization rate of about 6.33%. Riverside has the second highest unhealthy AQI level at 38.36%, with a lower hospitalization rate of 5.46%. To conclude, the hypothesis is hard to say if it was correct using the data that was recorded. The data for some of the figures were easy to read with clear data, others were not so easy. For some figures, such as average percent of hospitalization and the healthy AQI levels related to the regional location, the first figure shown, and AQI air quality to asthma hospitalizations ratio percentages, the data seems to agree that asthma hospitalizations. To conclude, the hypothesis is hard to say if it was correct using the data that was recorded. The data for some of the figures were easy to read with clear data, others not so easy. for some figures, such as average percent of hospitalization and unhealthy AQI levels related to each regional location, the first figure that was shown, and air quality asthma hospitalizations ratio percentages, the sixth figure shown. The data seems to agree that asthma hospitalizations are connected to the poor air quality, but for the figure unhealthy AQI levels within a year related to the percent of asthma hospitalization, it's hard to say 100% if the two are still connected. And this is the references.